Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the VIcki Boutin design team, and what I'm going to show you today is just a few entries of the week 4 Junque Journal challenge that VIcki has issued. And if you haven't heard about the challenge, this is you can come join us at the VIcki Boutin Mixed Media community page on Facebook, so you can see all the challenges that VIcki has created. There's a list of prompts that you can use to just have get creative and use some of your mixed media skills and also learn some along the way. But let me show you what I'm doing. The first prompt that I'm going to working on is called circles. And my idea was to emboss and watercolor some circles on a page. You're going to see that I'm using actually a watercolor insert for the Junque Journal for this. And I'm using also VIcki's circle and stamp and die set. And my idea was to emboss some of the watermark circles on a diagonal, also with some of the polka dot circles. And you're going to see that I'm using clear embossing ink and also white snow embossing powder. And once I have it on, you won't be able, I think you can see them barely on the page, but then I decided that I also want to bring some pops of black. So my idea is I'm using I'm pretty sure this is archival ink, because I want to make sure that when I add watercolor, it's not going to run. So I'm using archival ink, and I'm just stamping some circles on top of the ones I have stamped at the back. Now, my idea for this was to work with the fuchsias and the purples and the art crayons. So I've used 3 different crayons, the violet, the purple, and the fuchsia. And you're going to see that I have 3 different brushes. It's because I don't want the colors to mix. I want to keep them separate. I have overlapped the stamps in some places, so I want to make sure that I keep true to each of the colors, so when I overlap them, you can see the color differences and how they mix together. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to start coloring the circles, and you're going to see that actually the ones that are hidden somewhere in the paper are going to start coming out with the watercolor. And all I'm doing is just simple watercolor. I scribble some of the art crayons on my crafting mat, add some water, and I'm using actually Vicki's water brushes and also the watercolor brushes. I'm using both sets, and I'm choosing to go with a round brush because I want to make sure that it helps me create the curvature of the circle. And as you're gonna see, the first thing I'm doing is I'm just adding watercolor to each of the circles, and I'm making sure that there's a wash of color inside, that I have each of the colors is prominent. Now once I have that done, and it took a little while, so you're gonna see that I'm gonna take it off camera. I'm gonna just show you some of the highlights. Is you're gonna see that once the circles start, like what the circles are joined or in this way, they're stamped up on top of each other, you're actually going to see the definition of the circle. For example, the one I just colored has the embossed, the black ink, it was stamped on top of the embossed circle. So you see just a little hint of the embossing. And I just continued on until I had all the circles completed. Like I said, I'm just adding a wash, and I'm trying to stay true to each of the colors. Once I have that done, a first layer, you're going to see that I'm going to go and start detailing. And by detailing, I'm just adding a little bit of extra watercolor just to add a little bit of shading to bring some of the details of the circles that I have stamped in the background. And then, of course, if you guys have followed my work, you guys know that I love splatters. So I decided that I wanted to bring a little bit of messiness to the page. And because the circle stamp that I'm using, the one of the rim, the circle, has this little it does look like it has a little bit of ink droplets on the side. I decided that I wanted to bring some of the colors that I used as droplets around my stamps. Now you're going to see that you're not going to see it, sorry, that I set it aside to dry for a bit. Once it was dry, I'm going to come in actually with another circle. And this is the starburst circle that comes in the stamp set. And I'm going to use the ink wheels. In this case, I'm using the fuchsia and the pink from the warm set ink wheel, and also the navy blue. But my choice was not to clean the stamp in between, switching from the pink to the blue ink. That will give me the purple look that I'm using in the watercolor. And that's pretty much it. Once I have that done, you're gonna see that I bring a little stamp. This is from, I believe, it's from the Twilight kit, the Twilight collection from 1 Canoe 2, just to bring a little title. And I think it needs a little pop of black at the bottom. That's about it. Super simple. It does not take that much time to put together. It only is the drying time and the embossing. Super simple, but that's my entry for circles. I love it. I love how this looks. Now, as you're going to see, I'm actually going to work a few more entries. And this entry is the black one. For this, I am using actually the craft, one of the craft inserts. What I'm gonna do is I use acrylic black paint. If you have Vicky's, works perfect, but any acrylic paint will work. And I use my brayer so that I have an even coverage of the entire page. I set it aside to dry, and acrylic paint dries really fast. So once it was completely dry, I used some of the white art crayon and my stencil brush to add the script stencil. I wanted the impression of some writing on top of the dark background, and I thought that the pop of white, it looks like I have inked these white letters on top of the black. It looks like a chalkboard. I love it. I love it. It looks like a ghost impression. Super beautiful. I love black, and this was just, it worked great. Now I wanted to pop more of the black, and when I think black, I think of gold. I don't know, I love gold, I love black and white, so this one's up my alley completely. So my choice was to bring the flower stencil and some gold glaze. And all I'm doing is I'm just gonna add it to the side of the page, and you're gonna see that I am trying at best not to get the straight line of the stencil. So I'm just going in with my palette knife, trying to just get the flowers inside the rectangle. Once that's done, whatever was left over on the palette, I'm just gonna use some one of the water brushes to just dilute some of the gold glaze and add splatters, just as to continue some of the flowers to stretch the gold in a way. And that's pretty much it. Now the next step that what I did actually is I used some white art crayon. My idea was to stamp some butterflies in white, but I went ahead and scribbled the crayon onto the stamp, and I'm using the Vicky's stamp set, the butterfly one, but I added too much water, so I lost the definition of the butterfly. So my idea was I wanted to cover it, looked really messy. So what I did is I'm bringing a little bit of the gold glaze and some water, and I'm just gonna color one of the watercolor stickers, and I'm gonna glue it on top of the image. And that's pretty much it. I stamped two of the butterflies. The top one was the continuation after the first one, so there was not that much water, so you see a little bit more of the definition. But the first one that is stamped, it looked just like a big blob of white art crayon. So covering it with the sticker, it just helped and salvaged this entire page. I love it. This is one of my favorite pages. Love how this turned out. I love, like I said, gold, white, and black. Perfect combination for me. Now the last entry that I'm gonna show you, it's about stamping through a stencil, and this was pretty fun. But I'm going to show you how I did it in two different steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just having an idea what I'm going to do. And I'm bringing actually a piece of paper that I had laying around. And I'm doing is I'm using the stencil and a marker just to draw the butterflies. I'm going to actually cut them out, and I'm going to use them as a mask. So do that. If you're going to follow this, make sure you create that first. Now the next step is I'm using one of Vicky's stamps, and this one is the one that comes, I can't remember the name, but I have the script writing in the stamp. So what I'm doing is I'm using, first of all, one of the printed mixed media inserts for the Junque Journal, and I'm using the butterfly stencil, and I'm actually gonna use some washi tape to keep it in place. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use, you see I have all the colors of all the shades of blue, some from the neutral set and some from the cool set, and all I'm doing is scribbling the art crayon onto the stamp, adding some water, and then I'm going to proceed to stamp on top of the stencil so that I get the impression of the butterflies. I just want to have the butterflies having the stamp. So what I'm doing again is I'm scribbling the crayon, adding some water, and then you're going to see that I add a lot of pressure when I'm stamping. And that is because there is a little bit of dimension or a difference, an offset between the stamp, because of the stencil is sandwiched in between the stamp and the paper. So I gotta make sure that I put a lot of pressure to get the definition of the stamp on the paper. And all I'm doing is I'm going, like I went from dark to light. I'm trying to get the impression of an ombre look in the background. It's not that obvious, but it worked. And as you can see, I set it aside. I took out the paper, the washi tape, and just set it aside to dry because I use water. So it's going to take a little bit of time to dry. Once I had that done, I am going to bring the butterflies that I had cut out, that I actually drew, and I'm going to use them as masks. And all I'm doing is you're going to see that I'm using some, I think this is the ochre color that comes in the neutral set. It's this yellowish, kind of greenish tone of yellow. I love it. So all I did is scribble it on the side of my craft mat, use my stencil brush, and I'm going to hold down the butterflies that I had cut out. Like I said, I'm using it as a mask. And then I'm going to go with my stencil brush around it just to add color to the outside of the butterflies. So when I lift the mask, you're going to see the definition of the butterflies, and the butterflies are going to be stamped on the bottom. You can see it right now. Once I have that done, I have the extra art crayon left on my mat. I just water it down and add some a few droplets onto the page. Then I just use one of my stamps. I have a large collection of stamps just to add a title for this. Love how this turned out. Super simple. Just remember to hold down tight the mask when you're adding the second coat of art crayon if you want to repeat this page. And I hope you try it. Make sure you have fun with the prompts. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you soon. Take care, guys.